We're here.
I
We're
think
live.
we're here.
And we're still sort of on time.
Still
Had a
more
slight
on
technical
time.
difficulty that hopefully nobody saw, so not
No.
even going to mention it.
Yep.
But I am Devin.
And I am Paul.
We're the Dads and Dice, and we are here for our monthly review.
Yep, and barely late.
Barely late. We
So
were
we're good.
technically
We were on time. Technology, but that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. YouTube did something funny there. But anyway, we're here now.
Yep.
So yeah, we're going to review
our games.
Decent amount of games. We had a
had
couple carryovers from March with some technical difficulties there.
Yep. And hopefully, if you guys did catch that March in review and then my other live stream, I actually upgraded my internet, my routers. Upgrade. I got some mesh routers now, and I've actually got the best part of it. It's going to be hardwired into there, so there should be no Wi-Fi issues. I've got the router there, and then I've got the cable plugging in right in there.
Going into one of the points. So
yep, got a gig there to be able to stream.
Yeah,
should be no issues. Let's hope.
Let's hope.
Let's hope. But yeah, so we've got a couple games from March that we didn't cover, and then I played a ton of games. Ooh, that was change. I played a ton of games this month. Not so much you. We played a good amount together.
I don't honestly know. I think I played 10.
Yeah,
something like that.
So I played a good amount. So anyway, we can go ahead and start getting into that list.
So let's do it. Let's start with our carryovers from March.
Yes.
So we get those talked about, and we're going to start with Sentient. Sentient was a very interesting
dice manipulation
tableau builder.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it.
That's exactly what it would be.
Every round of 3 rounds, I think. Yeah.
3 sounds right.
3 rounds.
Possibly
Might
4.
have been 4, but I think there was 3. So every round you are going to be taking you start off with dice and you roll them, and you got 5 dice. You got 5 dice, and every time you start the round, you roll your dice, and they're the value they are. And then they've got these cards, and these cards are scoring objectives, and you're going to place them in between 2 of your dice, and they're going to make your dice values go up and down. And then they're going to have a scoring condition for the 2 dice related. So it was this really neat manipulation mechanic, because every dice is going to change at least 2 times. Figuring out how to score off of these cards that are out there. It was
and which cards to get first.
Yeah, open drafting type of thing. And yeah, knowing this is going to make it go up. This other card, if I get it, will make it go up, getting me to a 4, and the other card should be, or the other dice should be a 4. So I have a set of 4s, and that's what the scoring is. And I thought it was really cool.
It was really well done, and I think a little bit of a surprise for both of us. You know, there was also some area majority going on because you had the little different symbols.
That's
so
right.
In a way, it was like a set collection, but area majority. So you would gain that symbol if you had the most of your
it was like
associates, I think is what it was.
Yeah, every card that you drafted, you were putting these people out there, and you could put extra things out there, or you could use those extra things for more manipulation type of stuff. And so, yeah, then at the end, it was a majority for each round, and then that majority went to the amount of that type of card. I don't know. There was honestly what sounds like a lot to it, but it wasn't.
Very simple.
I could probably lay this game out and teach it in no time, and we're playing. I recommend it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it too. It was one that was sitting on a shelf. We're just going down the list there.
Yeah.
And I think we learned it maybe in 10 minutes, and we're playing it. And yeah, it's one that if I see it in front of me, I'll know exactly how to play it. Definitely recommend if you have a chance to try out Sentient, and the production value of it was pretty good. Those dice were sweet.
Yeah, it was. So
yeah, check out Sentient.
Next up, Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux.
Yes, so you played it in March, and I actually played it last month. And this was actually where our stream cut out in March. So I remember you were talking about how you pretty much had the perfect game of Shipwrights.
Oh yes, I did. So Shipwrights is a game I've been very mixed on since playing it. I think there's a ton of luck to it. I also think the game is really just the draft, and then after that, there's like one efficient path to playing your cards. No other way. I understand it is simultaneous for that reason. right? That it's really, I think the bulk of the game is the draft, and then you just kind of simultaneously play your cards out, but you could not do it as efficient as the other person. Anyway, I played this. I don't remember my score by any means because it was in March and I don't remember that at all. But I remember I had a really good game. I had ones where I had basically resource generating cards at the beginning, ships and that kind of stuff. And then I had point scoring ships I was drafting at the end. So it was like, it was the perfect flow of a game. And because of that, I feel like I've experienced all I will ever experience with this game, right?
Yeah.
I'll either only replicate getting to do that again, right? And, of course, there'll be a slight different tweak of it, but getting the stuff you want early and the stuff you want late, I'll only ever be able to just do that again, or I won't, and then I'll just kind of be like, oh well, it's not as good as that one game.
And it was nothing that you could have done to improve
absolutely.
It, right?
So
I got to play this one this past month in April. It's one that I do enjoy. I do enjoy that puzzly aspect of it because, in all honesty, I am not going to be able to just look at it and figure out the most efficient way to play the cards. That's just not how I play games, right? I'm not going to analyze every single thing. That's just me. I did have a very good game for me with it, because the AI, solo mode is
the solo is terrible. This is one of the worst solos I've ever played.
Especially a Garfield solo.
Yeah, the solo, you're getting to play your game, and I will say the solo draft is great.
Yes, it is.
But I don't know why this shouldn't just be a beat your own score, and it would probably feel significantly better because that AI is always going to score around 60.
And it's completely random.
Yeah, it's going to be somewhere around, we'll call it 60 to 66.
Even in the 50s sometimes, but yeah.
And you don't know, and it's there. You have zero control or manipulation over that. I don't know. I just don't really care for the AI. It should just be a beat your own score, and I probably will look at the solo very differently.
I agree with that.
But the way I look at it, especially after a game like I had, like I have no reason to ever play solo. I would play it potentially again multiplayer, but like I just got no reason to play the solo.
Yeah, and so with that being said, right, like I generally score in this game in the mid 50s, somewhere around there. I've had a couple games where everything's gone right that I scored like up in the 70s. So again, it's just very dependent on what you're drafting. But this last game, it was very close. I ended up scoring, I think it was like 60, and the AI got 64, 62, something like that. Turns out I forgot to add a couple of points on one of my ships, so I ended up beating the AI, which, kind of like what we said, it feels good, but it doesn't really. They could have beaten me completely, or I could have wiped them, if they would have gone 50. So it's a fun game. I enjoy it. I actually don't know if I would enjoy it multiplayer. So I don't know. I'm a little bit more mixed on it than I was originally. I do enjoy it.
What holds you back from the multiplayer?
Just the fact that it's. So I don't know. The player interaction doesn't feel like enough. I can get that solo. It's just whoever's on the track, and then whoever is getting their hero cards, right? Like that's it, and you get that solo. The only thing with multiplayer for me is that it's going to prolong the game.
See, the way I look at it, and the reason I would almost never play it solo again, I do feel like the entire game is in the draft. It's 100%. So like, I do think the solo draft is a good variant, but that's ultimately the game. And you really, you lose that strategy aspect when you're not playing the multiplayer side.
Yeah.
So I was just curious of that because, again, once you've drafted, there's a way to play out your hand,
I guess knowing myself, I'm not going to hate draft because I'm not paying attention to your stuff. Right? Like I don't have the capacity to look at yours and look at mine and try to figure out what you're doing and what I'm doing. And then just the interaction in general besides that, get in the solo. And for me, I know I'm generally a faster player. It's just going to prolong the game, and I don't need that game to be longer than the 45 minutes and what it is.
Yeah, I see that.
So yeah,
very interesting. You are leaning toward a solo only. I am leaning toward a
multiplayer.
Never solo. Yeah, so very interesting
Yeah.
that we have different takes on it. But that was
Shipwrights.
That was Shipwrights. Next up, we played Summer Camp.
Back in March. All these are still March.
Yeah, this was a very simple deck builder.
Yep.
I mean,
Phil Walker Harding. He's designed tons of games. Barron Park, Lost Cities, I believe. I might have just made that up. But, you know, he's made tons of games.
Yeah, this game was dummy simple. I mean, when you're moving along 3 tracks, and there's competition to get to the end of the tracks first. There's a couple spot points, like, you know, a third and a sixth, and 2/3 of the way through that. You're trying to get all 3 of your tracks over first, and that's really that is it. You're trying to get to the end because you get scoring for that. You're trying to be the first to also cross those, you know, the third threshold and the 2/3 points. Get some victory points from that. The cards you're getting aren't anything wild.
Really
it's
bad
moving. It's typically just moving. So
hey, Alex, thanks for coming.
It was simple. Probably a game I will never play again. I just got nothing from this. Didn't necessarily have fun. Just was playing. Yeah,
this game was a very basic intro into deck building. And at least the version that we played was like the first time you play it, they recommend these decks. And there was nothing negative in those decks, right? Like in a Dominion, you can get curse cards, or you know, in El Dorado, Quest for El Dorado, you possibly can't move, right? This one, there was nothing that ever felt really bad, right? There was no consequences for having a really big deck. There was no consequences for really anything. It was just get as much cards as you can, move as much as you can. One of the big things that you had said was that there was a really big first player advantage to it. And that really kind of hindered you from it.
Yes, I did. So everybody is getting the same cards that have you do the same movement, right? And so
yeah, there wasn't any big ones like in the Quest where you were moving 6 at a time.
Yeah,
right?
So like, I don't know. Maybe it was because I was playing second. Not really sure, but it was just like every time I could do something that was going to score victory points,
I was able to do it.
Paul just did it on his turn, and then when it came my turn, I was like, oh, well, I can't. And then that happened 2-3 times in the game, and I'm like, well, where is my catch-up of being second player and not having the opportunity to go first and do that? So, I don't know. Again, it was simple. I'll never play it again. I would honestly not recommend it too much.
Hey, you did not miss the stream. Thanks for coming. You guys ever played Tabletop Simulator? Yes, we actually no, we have not done Tabletop Simulator Dice Throne.
Have not.
No, so I have an all-day session. Nice, that's awesome. I've heard really good things about Oathsworn. Real big game, real intimidating.
Oathsworn, yeah. That seems like I think Paul would really enjoy it. I think Joe would enjoy it.
He does.
I think I would enjoy the puzzly combat aspect of Oathsworn.
But not the hours of
I don't
narrative
need
beforehand.
Story. I was actually thinking about this recently. Paul and I were having a conversation, and Paul plays a lot of story game, and I don't, right? And I don't need story in my game. But it's funny because I think I get it from my video game preference, right? Like I play a Final Fantasy where I'll watch an hour-long cutscene. I'm not controlling anything. I'm literally just watching a dramatic cutscene. And so I don't typically play like high action games. I play like very story intensive narrative games. So I think I don't want that from my board games, because that's like, I would much rather just go to a video game where I can get immersed in this world that tells this deep story, and you know, I get angry over the villains, or you know, I get emotional over things that happen.
And that's what I get in those narrative ones.
Yeah,
and I don't play video games.
Right. So I was thinking about that recently.
Interesting.
You know?
There's a fly in there.
But yeah, so Oathsworn is not a game I would spend the time reading all this narrative for.
Voidfall, I've heard very good things about that. That game looks awesome. But yeah, with Summer Camp here, I I think it's one that I would definitely play as an intro game with my daughter whenever she's old enough to kind of introduce that deck building mechanic, because again, there is really nothing that feels bad about it. It teaches you like adding the cards.
So I agree with that. I think
But
for a
seasoned gamers,
child,
yes.
right? It says 10 plus on there. I think for a child, probably. But I think it's almost too basic if you're playing like an intro to an adult deck builder.
I would agree.
But yeah, I think kid.
Yeah, because a
that's fine.
Dominion is a better one for that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that could be. So that was summer camp. I keep hitting the wrong key.
Ticket to Ride New York. We played this one on our fifth filler Friday Frenzy. Still remember that. I like Ticket to Ride. I think it's a terrific game. I really enjoy just everything about it. I know a lot of people don't like it just because it's a pretty basic game. I think I like Ticket to Ride New York better just because it's short. You get the exact same feel of Ticket to Ride, 15 minutes. I think we actually played it in 7 minutes if I remember correctly. Might be a little bit too short for it, but you can play it back to back and get the same feel. So I really did enjoy that.
Yep, I agree with Paul. I almost never say that.
There you go.
Just like Paul
Just like
said.
Paul.
I like Ticket to Ride as well. I think Ticket to Ride is a good game. I think Ticket to Ride is an entirely too long game.
Yeah.
This fixes everything about that. It plays quick. I've played this when I first got this game. Me and my wife played this probably 10 times in a 2-week period and didn't get tired of it because we could literally play it right before we were eating dinner, right, or whatnot. And as Paul said, it would take us 8 minutes. I think you crushed me in this playthrough.
I think I
did. You completely dominated. Didn't make me hate it any more. I just love this game. I think this. I know they have other little box versions. London
there's
is
Amsterdam,
one.
London, San Francisco.
I think they're all relatively the same with little rules. I'd probably play any of them, but I would never go back to playing the Ticket to Ride Europe, any of the big versions ever
The only way, and I actually do play Ticket to Ride quite a bit, but the digital app. And I play it against the AIs because it's snappy. It literally just goes back there and then I can go and do my turn. And they're still blocking you. You're still getting the same feel for it, but it's quick.
You know what, though? I will say I think this fixes one of my other problems with Ticket to Ride was Ticket to Ride is typically a game where everybody spends 20 minutes collecting a hand of cards you can't even hold. And
I think this is what Michael's saying.
And then you play them all, right? You can't do this in this because of how tight and competitive it is. You have to play as you go. So I think that fixes it. But that's it. It was Ticket to Ride. So
yep, I agree with that. Wingspan's pain in the ass. Wingspan is one that we have differing opinions on. Not my favorite.
Yeah, I think Wingspan's a terrific game. So and you know what? I haven't played a lot of the versions. I know that they have tighter versions of Ticket to Ride. I will say. Okay. I think that I think I've gotten the small box version. It's what I want, what I need.
Yeah. So next up we have World Wonders. I got to play this one twice, I believe, in March. Yeah. One time I went up to D20 for board game night, and we actually got to play it. Unfortunately, we didn't get to finish the game because it was close to closing time. So I think we got 7 of the 10 rounds in and then just kind of scored it through there. But I really like World Wonders. I think it's a great, I don't want to say it's polyomino, but it's a great placement game. Tile and wooden placement game.
Polynomial, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just, yes, it is. But it's the giant wooden structures, right? So yes, it does have that polyomino shape, but it's the giant wooden structures. I don't know. I prefer this one to a Foundations of Rome. I would put it in the same kind of vein as placement. Put it in the same kind of vein as production value because it looks awesome when it's out there. But I think that game is a little bit weightier, right? So it's a little bit heavier than a Foundations to Rome. Foundations to Rome is you're just claiming a plot and then you're eventually going to fill in that plot. Here you actually have to manage your money for those action points, right? Like, do I want this? Do I want that? Are you going to take it first? Playing it at multiplayer, it actually does matter more when you're going for that wonder there was a lot of times where I was spending 5 of my money instead of when you and I play and we wait till we're both at 1 or 2 to get that wonder, right? So there's a lot of differences with the multiplayer. I really like it. I really like World Wonders. I just got the expansion Mundo, which just adds 9 different wonders to it, and a couple other like objective cards. So really excited to get that in there.
So I will say I think this is right. This is better than Isle of Cats or Foundations of Rome, or this might go down as probably one of my top polynomial placement games, with the side of like the Uwe Rosenberg heavy hitters of A Feast for Odin, Patchwork.
Yep.
Those two I think are probably ahead of it, but this probably even beats out New York Zoo. I just think this is a really good polynomial placement
it's really
game.
good, and it's super easy to teach, super easy to get to the table. Now a couple like the placement rules and stuff like that can get tricky with like the tower and this and that. But you've got great player aids that kind of help you with it. So.
Yeah, I don't think you get too tripped up. So great game, highly recommend.
Kutna Aura is one that I've seen a ton about. I need to put that on our list for BGG. Actually, that is one that I want to get on there. So I think you'd like it.
Yeah, I honestly didn't
you
quite know what Michael was talking about.
Kutna Aura, it's a black box.
That could have been an anime for all I knew.
Czech Republic, I think. Anyway, World's Fair. This is still games that we played in
World's
March.
Fair 1893. I don't know that there's any others, but
but that is a specific World Fair.
Yeah.
So this one, I honestly don't even know how to describe this game. Set collection.
Yeah, set collection. Draft. No, it wasn't drafting.
Not even drafting.
I mean, sort of drafting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Set collection was the bulk of it. It was area control.
There was area
set
majority.
collection,
Yep.
right? So you placed your, I guess they were visitors
yes.
down in different zones of the World Fair, and depending on what you did, you took some cards there. The cards ended up, you wanted to get sets of colors and matching sets of cards to do scoring for it.
And then the round timer was the actual Ferris wheel,
then,
right?
course,
so you would go there and it would move across this Ferris wheel, and every time you would reach the end of the Ferris wheel, you would score.
That was your scoring.
Yeah, that was your scoring turn.
I will say, like, it wasn't a massive high production value, but because this Ferris wheel is the gigantic centerpiece, it looked good on a table
really
for what was,
table.
other than that, bland cards, bland stuff around it. But the fact that Ferris wheel was there, I enjoyed it. Right?
It was fun. And again, we played this 2 months ago now, so it's kind of hard to remember everything about it. But I remember right after we said this one is one that would definitely play better at higher player counts. For the same reason this one here, because everything will refresh, right? So those cards will refresh quicker, you get more options out there, people are moving that timer faster, so all of that just kind of speeds up the game and makes it a little bit more engaging.
I think our last...
You have one more.
I've been to. It's a place.
All I know about Kutna Aura is it's like silver. Is it the city of silver? I think that's what it is. It's all about silver and maybe mining? I don't know. It's going to go on the list.
This is our last one from March. Zapotec. I played Zapotec, right?
I've played Zapotec once, so yes.
Okay.
You played Zapotec.
I played Zapotec, so which means I soloed it.
A bone church.
So Zapotec is a very, very tight Euro game. There
Board
are
and dice.
5 rounds.
That sounds
4 or 5 rounds. 4 or 5 rounds.
Okay.
I again played it in March, so don't quite remember. It's a very fast engine builder, getting resources to build out more buildings and just try and populate a map, while also trying to manipulate the various different scoring. So it's kind of a score how you want type of game. You can score off these pyramids that you're getting, and you'll have multipliers based off how tall they are, or you could just focus on end of round scoring and trying to manipulate the cards so you're the one that decides what is scoring, and maybe you score for a certain zone, or maybe you score for a certain type of buildings you made. Maybe you score for the farmlands, or it's just, I think this game is phenomenal. People's biggest complaint with this game is it ends so quickly. But personally, I like really tight games, so to me that's perfect. And this game truly, I think the box says 45, 90 minutes, 60 to 75. I truly believe it is an hour game. Especially, like, I could probably reteach Paul, and we're playing it with that little teach, having the whole game played in an hour. My solo took like 45 minutes. It's just very fast, very tight, and very crunchy in that. So
yeah, I remember that the one time that I played it, it reminded me of It's a Wonderful World, right? Like, you get that engine building, and then right when you feel like you're about to just let it run, the game's over. It cuts you off. And we've talked about that before, and how that's actually probably a good thing, because if you let it run another round, it would just go off and you'd be able to do anything that you wanted. And with it ending so quickly, you have to be very efficient in your actions, and that's what you like. That's you.
Yeah.
So, a Bone Church outside of Prague, I would watch that anime, and I don't watch anime. So,
a Bone Church. That's what the place is? I gotta look this up when we're done with this stream.
Yeah, we're going to be going down a rabbit hole in Wikipedia.
Okay, on to this month, and on to one of the most recent games we have played.
Yes, this fly is killing me.
All-time wrestling.
All-time wrestling. Ooh, yeah, Randy.
It's the top wrestler of all time.
Yeah, so this game, premise is you are in the future. Somebody is a Vince McMahon type person, a chairman, and he wants to have the best wrestler of all time. And so he invents some type of time machine or something. All the wrestlers come together, and they are just battling out to see who is the best wrestler of all time. We talked about it when we started the stream. This box art here, it's actually different on the newer version. We have the second edition. This is the first edition. This box art looks like it's just ripped off completely. But no, this is actually licensed material. There is Kurt Angle, Macho Man Randy Savage, British Bulldog, Andre the Giant, RVD's in there, Raven, a couple other people. It was fun. It was good. It was enjoyable. I liked it.
Beside all the story that Paul said, it's a fighting game, right? It is what you want if you were getting a wrestling themed game.
That's exactly what it is.
It's just a fighting game. You're going to be playing cards to do moves, right? You're going to be doing your elbow drop if you're the Macho Man.
Yep, your ankle picks for Kurt Angle.
You're going to be doing all those things, and you can chain things together, right? Do your little chain wrestling or your combos. You got reversals. You got your specials and your finishers. You're managing. Everybody starts with this like
their stamina.
Yeah, high stamina, and then by the end, like,
it
feels like a wrestling match because it's like, oh my goodness,
I have to pass to you.
I can't even do two moves in a row. It was good. We played this twice. The first game
was awesome. 20 minutes.
A 20-minute game. The second one ended up grinding to a halt.
Yes.
And that side of things, I didn't really like as much, but I won't completely like write off or dog the game because of that. I think that was more of an anomaly, and we both kind of got into a stalemate type of situation.
So what I'll say about that second match, and I mentioned it on the stream, I believe, or maybe right after the stream, was the matchup was just terrible. It was Kurt Angle, who does throwing moves, against Andre the Giant, who, in order to throw, you had to roll +2 to everything. So in order for Kurt Angle to get any moves in, I had to roll 6s on dang near every card that I had. I actually talked to the designer. He asked me, what I thought about it, and I told him, I said, the first match was great, but this was kind of the thing. And he said, yeah, once you play it more, you actually learn those strategies, which cards to discard to defend, and all that kind of stuff. He said, but yeah, that is not a very good matchup.
Yeah, so I will say, I don't always necessarily like when a game is this simple. Like, I like a game where you can, like a Terraforming Mars. I've played so much of that game. Like I know the strategy in depth, and I enjoy that. Right. I don't want a real simple game to also be the type of game where you have to invest many playthroughs to know the right strategies, right?
Agreed.
I want it to just be simple. I want to play cards. I want to hit you.
You want every character to be balanced against each other.
Yeah, right? I want to do that clothesline into an elbow drop, right? Like that's just what I want to do. I don't want to think, oh well, strategically, I shouldn't be playing this card right now, and I don't want that in a quick fighting game. So
yeah, but overall, this was a really fun game. I haven't looked into more, but there is a solo campaign that leads you through this entire story where you're a wrestler and you're fighting all of those people.
It was like a deck this big,
gigantic
of like
deck.
Small text on the cards.
Yeah. So there was that. There's also a whole nother board that's the cage match that lets you kind of climb in over the cage, over it, out of it. And then they're actually going to Kickstarter, I want to say mid this month, and they're focusing more on the 3 to 4 player experience. I think adding like tag teams and stuff like that. So there's a ton of stuff in this game. It is available now, but all that other stuff's coming to Kickstarter where it can be available whenever they go live.
So that was All Time Wrestling. Ian, I see you have joined, so welcome.
Yes, welcome, Ian.
Architects of the West Kingdom.
This was me. So a little bit of a spoiler alert. If you're watching, we have a list coming out on Monday, and this one might have made the list, but I got to play this one solo. We were talking about it, and you really kind of gave me the itch to try it out. We talked about specifically with the Age of Artisans and Works of Wonders expansion. Architects is, I don't want to say it's Garfield's lightest game, but it's one of their lighter games. And adding those other expansions really kind of upped that a little bit, plus completely redesigned the solo mode and made it a lot more challenging than what it was before. I really enjoyed it. I hadn't soloed it in a long time. It was very close. I was able to do what I wanted in the game, and they were blocking me. One thing that I really enjoy about the solo with this is that they're going to keep on capturing you and putting you in prison, so you're not just going to be able to run away in the mines or anything like that. Works of Wonder adding the princess and the profiteer kind of changes your strategy up a little bit more. Going to the princess to kind of donate to those wonders to try to get those. Then, of course, Age of Artisans, is that what it was? Yeah, Age of Artisans. You know, my biggest downfall in all of these games is getting the townsfolk. After talking to you many times about it, I've realized townsfolk are very important in all of the West Kingdom games. So those Age of Artisans, adding tools onto that, and then just adding the little adornments on top of the buildings. It just adds a lot to that game, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's like Paul said, when you add those two expansions in, Architects for me goes from a game where it's like, oh, it's Architects, I'll play it, like it's fine, to a game I want to play. Like I want to play Architects, I would play that game anytime as long as those expansions are in. It adds just so much depth into the game. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, I highly recommend it with everything.
Yes, Michael, Viscounts is, I'm still going to say it, Viscounts is my favorite Garfield game. I really enjoy it, and that solo is very smooth. I like it a lot. Love that game. All right, next up we have Black Sonata. So Black Sonata is a hidden movement deduction game. I've talked about this one quite a bit lately, I feel like. It's one that I first heard about, I want to say 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I found it as a print and play and ended up printing it out. It just really intrigued me to have a solo-only game that did hidden movement and deduction. So anyway, what you have is you have this stealth deck, and on this stealth deck there's 4 different columns with letters, and you are placing those in alphabetical order, and that's the way that the Dark Lady is going to move. So you are taking the role of a historian, you're in London, Dark Lady is going to be moving, you're going to be chasing her, trying to find her on that map. If you think that you're on the same location with her, you can perform a search action. If you perform a search action, you get some clues of what characteristics she might have. Once you get enough clues, you can start making some deduction and trying to figure out which of the Dark Ladies is actually Shakespeare's Dark Lady. So with this game, I've gotten pretty good at finding the position of where she's at, but I always just have a really hard time of actually deducing those characteristics. Because on those cards it says like she might have one of these symbols on there, she might have 0 or 2 of these symbols on there. So you're trying to like figure out what all those numbers mean, what all the characteristics mean, and go from there. But it's a really fun solo-only game. Comes in a very small box. You can take it pretty much anywhere. There is a couple expansions. The newest one's coming out. Actually can turn it into a 2-player game. I didn't get a chance to play that one before I sent it off. But I think that would be really good because it reminds me of a mind management where one person is running away and the other person is trying to find it.
So it goes 2-player competitive.
Yes. Yep.
Interesting take.
So that's what one of the expansions does on there, and I think it's a great game. I'd like to play that with somebody else. So yeah, that's Black Sonata.
Okay. Blue Lagoon. I don't even know what kind of game this was. It's tile placement game, I guess is what it is. So
route builder.
Is it?
Yes. Yeah, because you're starting in the sea and you're going into the islands.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I think route builder, I think like a super long route, but I guess you don't have to be. You can just start from wherever. But anyway, this game is just a map with a bunch of little circular spots all over it, and some are island spaces, some are sea spaces. And on your turn, it's going to be played over 2 rounds. It's actually very unique. And at the end of each round, you have an identical scoring, so you score twice in the entire game. You play a full round, reset the board, play again with a minor rules tweak. So the first time you play, you're like exploring. So you have to come from the sea or the oceans. So you have to put your disc on the oceans, and then you kind of go from there.
Yep. Going into the land.
Yep. And there's things to collect for a set collection. There's longest route. There's
area majority.
Yeah, trying to touch all of the islands. There's area majority. There's like the tiki things that were just straight up victory points. Yeah. All kinds of different scoring with it. But you play until you're basically out of tiles, can't play, whatnot. You score, full score. And then you reset everything but these little campsites villages that you had put out. And then it's the opposite rules. So instead of having to come from the sea, you now have to come from the land village sites. And you play the entire thing, do the exact same thing again, same scoring. Do it twice, no scoring. Probably took us 40 minutes, and that was us having to figure it out. I bet we could probably play this game in under 30 now.
Yeah, again, it was another game that I feel like would play better at higher player counts.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's the same board for every player count. I don't think there was a different board for it. And it was
was there?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
No, I'm thinking of a different game.
Yeah,
I know exactly what I'm thinking
of. So it is the same it's the same board layout. I thought it's a much deeper game than what's on the surface. It seems very simple, just touching your tiles together to make a long route to touch everything on the island, pick up some resources. But I really do think that with that second round, there's a lot more strategy involved on where you are placing those villages, because that's where you're starting off. I think both you and I had some villages that were relatively close to each other at the start of the second round, and it was like, well, that was dumb. Yeah. Now I can see that didn't make sense.
Yeah, so I'll say not a must-have game by any means, but a game I would play again, right? Not fantastic, but not bad. Paul's right. It was simple in your turn. Your turn was placing one of your discs. The complexity was the scoring, right? You're only scoring twice in the entire game, and so there was a ton of scoring conditions. Yeah. You could not do all the scoring conditions, so figuring out how do I score the most, right? Because you could completely neglect some but score massive for others, right? And then the other player could score massive on those that you neglected, or you could both be competing for some, right? So a lot of complexity to it for what seemed like a simple game on the surface. And definitely that Moana theme, right? Like this is
Pacific
one that,
Islanders.
we got daughters that I think you get them to play this just because it's Moana.
There's Maui.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Maui, and he's going to all the islands.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, Lola told me to tell you today, because I was Maui today. She said, "Tell Devin I'm Moana of Montanui, and I'm adventuring." So I forgot to tell you. I'll tell you now.
She's adventuring.
Yeah, she's
You want to know what my daughter said today? I said, "It's Friday. You want to see Paul?" No.
She said no.
No. I said, "Paul's coming over. It's Friday." No.
No.
She was in a mood. She was in a mood
man.
after school. We had a whole crying fit at feeding, so.
Well, that explains why I didn't see
Yeah,
her.
yeah, exactly. But anyway, that's what she said today. So. Anyway, that was Blue Lagoon. On to Century Spice Road, the original.
Spice Road. So this will probably be the only time that Spice Road is on here, because I have the Golem edition, and honestly, that is the far superior addition to this game. Not that it changes the game in any bit, but
yeah, playing
the
with those
components,
little, what are they, resin,
crystal, whatever, are amazing.
Yeah, this game looks bland as can be.
Yes.
Century is a game that could be any theme you want, and Golem knocked it out of the park.
Is the one, yes. So Century is a quick engine builder, deck builder,
drafting,
drafting,
resource
management kind of game, contract fulfillment. So on your turn, there's a river of cards, and you have a deck of cards. So you can either play a card from your hand to gather resources or trade resources. You can pick up cards from the river and put them in your hand, or you can just rest and pick up all of your cards. And then you will have this little caravan that has all of your resources on there, and then you'll spend those resources to fulfill contracts at the top. And then it's the first to either 5 or 6 will trigger the end of the game, and then just at the end of the game, whoever has the most victory points wins. What I love about this game is if you and I are playing it, or if me and Kirsten are playing it, or me and somebody that has played this game before, this game is quick. Turns are super snappy. You know exactly what you want from that card river. You know exactly what cards you're going to play. And then once you have the cards in hand, you're just kind of repeating that cycle. You're just going through that game loop. I have these 2 yellows. I'm trading this green for this blue. I'm trading these 2 blues for this pink. I'm trading this for that. I'm getting that contract. I'm starting the whole thing over. And it just flows so smoothly. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, so what I'll say I typically really like about Century is kind of exactly what Paul was saying. The games, in theory, should not play out the way where you do the Ticket to Ride, a bunch of collecting cards, and then all of your stuff. But they do. And so in theory, the person that collected the better engine of cards should win. But because the game's so quick with the scoring, that's not always the case. Sometimes it's the person that just jumped off first, right? Sometimes it's the person that rushed it with the small stuff. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you can win by only scoring 3 of 15 pointers, right? So I just like that it's quick enough that it's not just, I'm an engine builder guy. Typically that's what I want. I don't want that in this game because otherwise it would just feel very
monotonous.
Yeah, it would feel very samey halfway through the game, and this game's simple enough that it doesn't.
Yeah, it's definitely, in the game that Kirsten and I played, she definitely had the better cards, but maybe, she had the better cards, and she ended the game like very quickly, but I was able to get like 1 or 2 20-point cards before she got the other ones, and I think I ended up beating her by like 2 or 3 points, so it was very close, and with all intents and purposes, she should have won it just because she had all the cards, she completed everything. I just had the higher scoring point ones. yeah, it was an awesome game. Definitely is in my collection. I have this one, like I mentioned, the Golem edition. We've got the second one, which is Eastern Wonders or Eastern Mountains, one of those two. And then we've played the third one. That one's not in the collection yet, but this first one is amazing. I think it's a great game.
Yeah, that was Century. I agree with Michael. Game that I think should be in every collection. But if you have not bought it, go buy the Golem edition.
Get the Golem
'cause
edition.
It just looks better.
Yeah. If you like fantasy.
Chicken.
Chicken. So
Chicken.
this is a game that Devin... Lacey is laughing at you.
Lacey probably doesn't even know what that's from. Do you know what I was quoting?
I actually don't either.
Chicken.
Yeah, I don't know what that's from.
There's a scene in The Fifth Element where... Have you seen The Fifth Element?
I have.
Whatever her name is, the
Lilu.
doesn't speak English. And yeah.
No. Okay.
The red hair, the main chick
Yeah.
of it.
I think it's Lilu or something
Anyway,
like that.
she's like heating up chicken, or I can't even remember exactly. I just remember that. And
Okay.
anytime chicken is said, that's what I say. And this has an exclamation point, so definitely made me think about it.
All right. This is a game you would hate. I
hate the
Yeah,
way it looks.
I don't think I'll ever even introduce it to you. I just think you'll hate it. This is a push your luck dice game. So with chicken, you start off with 4 yellow dice, and these dice have eggs, foxes, or chickens on them. And so you roll the dice, and whatever you roll, if you get an egg, that means that you're hatching more chickens, so you have to add these other dice into the pool. At any point, if you have... Yes, it is. I'm sure. I haven't seen with the Kickstarter stuff, but yeah, it comes in a little tube. So anyway, you roll any eggs, you have to add those more dice into the pool, then you re-roll them again. Any chickens that you get are points. It's the first to 25 points wins the game. And then any foxes will make you bust. So if you get 3 fox, you will bust, and then you'll kind of lose your turn. So you keep your chickens, you keep the fox. Any eggs that you roll, you roll that many dice. You can chicken out at any point, lose a victory point, pass it on to the next person, and then just keep on going. Whoever gets 25 points wins. And that's a chicken.
Interesting. Where did you even find this game?
So the day that Luna was sick at BGG, Joe and I played it at BGG in November. And then we were at D20, and we were with a friend for Kirsten and I. And
Joe brought this game?
No. I had heard of it before. And I was like, hey, let's learn this
The
one.
day Luna was
Remember
sick.
you left at 5 a.m. for BGG Con?
Yeah. That
So
Luna
when
was
you were
sick.
gone,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
So
you played
Joe
at
and I
BGG.
played it with him.
They had it.
They had it.
Got it.
Yes, yeah.
Then you played
And
it.
then I played it last month.
So you played this game twice.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I like it. I like push your luck game. I like can't stops and those kind of things. I just know you
zombie
don't.
dice and
Exactly. But yeah, chickens. If you like push your luck, if you want a game that's over in 10 minutes, definitely check it out. It's a good one.
chicken.
Distilled, the Africa and Middle East expansion specifically.
This definitely was you.
This definitely was
No
me.
chance I played Distilled.
We know your feel on Distilled. Chicken with 8 people. Yeah, it's a blast if you have a ton of people. So I've played it at 3 is the highest, and that's fun. 3 is the highest that I've played it with. I can't imagine with more people. I'm sure it would be fun. But anyway, Distilled here. Distilled is a very thematic game where you are buying ingredients and bottles and barrels and stuff. You're distilling spirits. You're aging spirits. You're selling them off for victory points. This expansion here, it just adds another region, which is Africa and the Middle East. So it just adds a couple more distillery owners. It adds a couple more ingredients. Some things like, I think it's called like liquid sucralose or something like that. And it can be any of the 3 sugars. So it can be a fruit, whatever it is, right? So you can pick what you want it to be. There's some cards that have 2 of the sugars on there, right? Mm-hmm. So if you pull it out, unfortunately, you're losing 2 of them, but, you know, kind of hedge your bets with which one you're going to lose. There's some new bottle locations, so there's more of the set collection with the bottles. So really, it's just adding more of what Distilled already is into the game, which you and I have talked about. That's something good with expansions. If you like the game for what it is, and the expansion just adds more to it, then that's awesome.
I think
that's exactly what this does. So, not for you, but it's one that I enjoy.
I've said it before. Distilled is a game where I want to like, the mechanics or something I think I should like, and it just leaves me wanting more, right? It feels like you should be able to create something, right? With the way that certain, ingredients can come back, or the way the upgrades let you do what should be engine-y, but it's just not there. And that's what I just want more out of it. That's really what I want. There's not enough there, but it feels like there should be. I think the mechanics, is everything I feel like I should want, but something is missing.
Something is missing.
So I'm actually very sad that this expansion doesn't add that something, right?
Yeah.
That's something like Architects that added enough to elevate the game that I really like. Because if it's just more of what there is,
it's just more of the same.
It's missing something for me. It just doesn't quite have whatever that factor is. So
So that was Distilled.
That's Distilled. Dogfights. Rule the sky in 20 minutes.
A lot of these games are coming from that same game night that my wife and I had at D20. So it was her and I. We were waiting for somebody else to show up. I brought Dogfight because I said, you know what? We're going to probably wait for somebody. We need a very quick filler. And we played some Dogfight. So Dogfight is a little skirmish game. Is that what you'd call it? Maybe not even.
It's like
I don't even know.
What is it? I don't.
You have some tiles, and these tiles have numbers on them and then attack points on them. So you've got this little circular board, and you've got your airplanes, and depending which ones you play, we played the base airplanes, but you want to, you have these tiles, and you play the tile, and you move that many spaces. If you're 3 spaces behind, you will attack the plane in front of you for how many ever damage points are on there. The first person to, I want to say it's 8 damage on their ship or on their plane loses, or if you run out of tiles, whoever has the most damage to your plane. It's a very quick 20-minute game, under 20-minute game, and honestly I think it's perfect for what it is, right? It's a very quick game. There can be deep strategy in it, I'm sure, but you don't need it. You just play the tiles and go from there.
It's truly, you can take your time thinking, and you're still gonna come in under 20 minutes. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
That is the way this game is. Like, you can literally sit there and be thinking, what is my optimal? What's he gonna?
Because you can see what each player has in their
games,
bags,
and it's still gonna be quick, and that's what it's so good about it. More importantly, you didn't say what planes you used.
We just used the base, the red and the blue ones.
I don't know. Going to the next.
I was teaching her the game, so just base red and blue.
Fractured Skies.
There you go.
Little area control game. Ooh, not
little.
Very
produced.
Very overly produced area control game. So, Fractured Skies is nothing more than that. Area control. You had, I don't remember,
Bluffing and deduction.
7 islands. I don't really necessarily think much bluffing, but you did have to, because we played with the AI, you did have to kind of have some strategy into what they were playing, which I thought was decent. Nothing more than an area control game. You're trying to win over these stars. Like certain stars every round, but then there are also hidden stars, so you can scout them if you want. You can kind of play your odds and scatter about. There's resources and there's things to build, but it was interesting because I don't think they were all that swingy.
Yeah.
In the end, I think they were just kind of very simple things. They did add a little bit more. It's a good game. I've played a lot of various area control games, and this is one of them. That's, I think, where it falls. I would play it again. I would much rather, I think, play it at a higher player
or
count
higher,
where you're playing other people. Production is too much, way too much. For what it is, you have way too much stuff with the little magnetic disc and whatnot.
It's awesome.
It needs to just be tokens, right? if I were to ever buy this game, I would buy just the base game, get the cardboard tokens, because I don't want all of that stuff out on the board. I just want it to be quick and easy to see with these cardboard chits.
See, for me, I'm the opposite, right? I really like that. Would I ever buy that game? No, I would not. Do you need it? No, you don't. But if I had the opportunity to play the Super Deluxe version or just the retail version, I'm definitely going Super Deluxe all day.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd probably play it, but if I was buying it, I would never buy
there's
the
no
Super
reason
Deluxe.
for it.
I would just buy the regular base version, because that's all you really need.
Yeah, it's you don't need the magnetic parts to it. You know, the couple of the tiles with the different backgrounds that signify either the 10 or the 0, right? That's supposed to be the bluffing aspect of the game. But I think that would come into play with higher player counts, obviously. You know, so it's one of those things where, you know, we played it at 2, and it was good. It was a good game. I think it would just definitely play better at that 4 to 5 range.
Yeah, and I think a lot of area control games
are going to do that. Yeah,
fall on that.
Makes sense.
Again, this is just kind of another one on the list.
Yeah.
Hadrian's Wall. I did not play this
Yeah.
last month. I actually may not have played this for a couple months now that I think about it. I don't really remember.
I played this one, Fort 3. And Fort 3 was you had to complete all of the citizen tracks.
Oh, easy. That's got to be an easy one.
And score above, I forget what it is. Had to play it twice. So
maybe it wasn't easy.
Oh man, I was so upset that first time I played it. I was 1 X away on the citizen track, and I had already done like my trade for the round, right? So I couldn't get another extra yellow in. Because I was like, I had the opportunity to get a yellow if I had like one more stone, or if I could do one more trade. Like, I just couldn't do that final action to get that last X. And I literally stared at that for the longest I've ever stared at a game, just trying to figure out, is there a way for me to do this? Even like, maybe if I went back a move instead of that, what could I do? And I just couldn't do it. So on the second round, yeah, I figured out what I needed to do. Finished the citizen track fairly early on, and yeah, got it. So beat Fort 3 onto Fort 4, and I actually don't remember what it is. I think actually it's paying 2 stone for every building, I believe. Yeah, I think that's what it is, or maybe it's
1 extra stone.
Yeah, 1 extra stone.
I think it's 1 extra.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's either 1 extra stone or build all the large buildings, something like that. It has something to do with buildings. So
I don't remember a build all the large, so it's got to be the 1 extra stone.
Yeah. So anyway, that will be probably the one that I try out this month, and we'll see how it goes.
Maybe I'll do this month. Maybe I'll try and get that in. Mine, I know for sure. I'm at the. If you've looked through all the forts, I'm at the one where you start getting an extra pick card.
Ooh, rough.
So, like the back 4 or 5. Yeah. That's what happens. You're drawing an extra pick. So we'll see. Heroescape, the battle for all time. Did I play some Heroescape? Yes. Did I play a lot of Heroescape? Yes. Didn't play mini games this month, as you've seen. Paul has played a lot of solo. I played a ton of Heroescape over less than 24 hours. So,
how many hours of Heroescape?
Yeah, it's, man, probably 12 hours of Heroescape in a 24-hour window. So Heroescape is a game that has massive nostalgia for me. This is a game Joe and I played back in college. We got it our sophomore year of college. So if I'm 36, so we'll call it 19 then. So 16 years ago. 16 years ago we got this game. We played so much back then. Joe and I bought so much back then. We were poor college kids, pulled in our money to buy new
from
characters.
Toys R Us.
Yeah, Toys R Us. So a funny story, actually, while we're talking about Heroescape, I'll go ahead and tell my funny story about it. The reason Joe and I are friends is really probably this game. This is like literally the glue that's got our friendship together. But we went to Toys R Us because the girl Joe was dating at the time was going to a birthday party for her brother or something like that, or younger cousin or whatever. So we go to Toys R Us. Back then, Toys R Us had a game aisle that looked something like this, you know. And I don't remember which of us picked up the box first, but I picked up the box and I like look at it, you know, put it back. And Joe picks it up and looks at it and puts it back, you know. And then that's it. And we care because we're with Joe's girlfriend and we get whatever we need and we go home. And I think it was Joe is the one who, which if you know Joe, this is very unlike him, but Joe is the one that took the initiative, was like, hey dude, do you remember that game we both looked at Toys R Us? And I was like, yeah. It's like, you want to go get that game? And I was like, yes, I do.
Of course.
Yes, I very much do. And so Joe and I were living with 2 other guys, and we had this secret from even those 2 other guys.
In the frat house?
Yeah, we just play. We were in an apartment at the time. Another sidebar, our house got condemned for too much asbestos, so we got kicked out, or not kicked out, we got kicked out by the city, couldn't live there anymore. We all got apartments. We had this apartment building, brand new. We wrecked it over a year. Anyway, so Joe and I, 2 other guys lived in there in one room, and we kept this in Joe's room, and we would slide this underneath his bed, and like we'd have crazy parties there. Nobody knew Hero Escape was there, and we'd play. And yeah, so
awesome.
Anyway, a couple weeks ago, I happened to be close to where Joe was. I knew I was going to be. So I drove over there, surprised him. Shelby kept it a secret, and I just showed up with a ton of Hero Escape. We played. So anyway, that Hero Escape is a combat, hex-based combat game. You're just chunking dice and doing damage, and crazy things happen, and it's fun.
Yeah, so. And if you saw on the thumbnail, you had like what, 6, 7 boxes of it?
Yeah,
something like that.
I bought a ton of Hero Escape.
Yeah, so
it's nice to not be a poor college kid with a little bit of disposable income that I can rebuy this.
And then we did pre-order it as well.
Hero Escape's coming back. So
coming back.
Can't wait for that.
This is a little warm up for it.
Ooh, Hexplore It.
Can you read it?
The domain of Mira Noctis or something like that.
Or is it the Return to Mira Noctis domain? Something like that. Yeah. Hexplore It. Vampires.
Explore it. So,
so Hexplore It. We did it's not monthly, but what we want our monthly to meet me halfway with, again, Joe from Board Games for Two. We drove up to the Ardmore Public Library. We rented out a little room, and we set up Hexplore It. So Hexplore It is just another hex-based game, just for exploration. So you've got your characters, you've got your race and your class and all that kind of stuff, and you're just moving through and defeating villains, or not even villains, just defeating creatures, going into dungeons, trying to make it to this vampire.
Yeah, that's Hexplore It is like, it is like a D&D.
It's like a one-shot.
D&D in one session. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's a one-shot.
You start with a very basic, bare-bones character. They have a billion at this point. So many characters you can choose. And you got some abilities, some attack, some defense, and...
you buff them up.
Yeah, you roll dice and you kill some monsters.
Yeah.
That's all it is, and it's a blast.
Oh, and we had... Do you remember who we had, what his name was? Our little person that defeated everybody, just murked everyone.
He was a no-name soldier. He didn't.
Was that what it was?
He didn't have a name, but so the neat thing about Hexplore It, like D&D, every session's gonna be different. And this one we had this.
We just had an NPC
that we buffed up, and he was killing. He was not killing. He was slaughtering everybody for us, and it was great. We were having a blast, like buffing up his attack and just making him the guy.
Because it turns out we messed up picking up our characters. None of us were attack characters.
Yeah, none of us did any real damage.
And I was supposed to take damage and then put it back out, but I never took damage. And yeah, it was just, we had this NPC that was just destroying everything for us. And I remember when it was time for him to go away, we literally debated, do we let him go? Can we defeat anything more if he's gone? And we ended up we ended his time there, and ended up making it to Mira Noctis and defeated her pretty easily, I felt like. And yeah, that was fun. Hexplore It was fun.
Yeah.
6-hour game day.
Yeah.
Good exploration.
Look at the stars.
Look at the stars. Look at the stars is a flip and right game. Very good flip and right game. Actually, really enjoy it. The first time that we played it was at the last time that we went to Ardmore. But anyway, you have this black board and
the night sky.
The night sky with 3 different sections, and then you have 3 different card stacks. Each card stack you'll be flipping over, and then you'll be drawing the constellations, kind of what's on the box right there, connecting the lines. And then once that first stack runs out, you can no longer go into the bottommost section that represents the sun rising. At the end of the game, you're scoring your constellations, and a constellation has to be at least 3 lines connected. So you're going to score 1 3-line constellation, 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you have multiples of them, it doesn't matter. You're not scoring them, so you want to try to get 1 of each, 3 through 8. You are scoring your shooting stars, which is anywhere between a 1-line shooting star to a 3-line shooting star. You are scoring any of like the end game scoring condition shapes. And really that's about it. It's a very simple flip and right. Very good. I really enjoy it. The worst part about it, and I've ranted about it before, is those markers. They're terrible.
Yeah, you know.
It's wet erase markers.
Wet erase.
They look great.
Always looks good.
Yeah.
But in practice,
until you're spitting on your game to get them off.
So terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have much to say about it. It's very simple, flip and right, not bad.
Yeah, it's a good one.
The Quest for El Dorado.
Right here.
Did we do this on a stream?
We did this one live.
We did this one live.
Yeah.
I think I crushed in this one. I remember this now.
On this one. Yeah.
So
absolutely destroyed.
Quest for El Dorado, deck building game that is a race. So you have typically just one little person that you are trying to race to the finish line in a 2-player game, which I honestly like a little bit more. You have 2 people you're getting over, and you're just creating a deck of cards and going across 3 different types of terrain: water, cities, or forest and jungles.
Yeah, jungles.
I assume it's jungles, right? Trying to make it to El Dorado first, and
you're buying upgrade cards that you can add to your deck, your Cullen cards, and that's what absolutely made you destroy in that game was you culled all of your cards.
Yeah.
And every draw that you were having was pretty much letting you draw every single one of your cards. So
yeah,
that was
great.
Very solid.
I enjoyed it. I like this game. I've always liked this game. I just think a very simple deck builder. I would, when we were talking about summer camp earlier, right? Besides children, this would be like the intro deck builder I would almost always like teach a person, because
I can see that.
It's the majority of the cards, right? 75% of the cards are just a number and that land type, and it's very simple. You move across that land type, and then it adds in just enough like of the extra stuff, and they're all simple. None of them are complicated. There's nothing tricky about any of them. It's draw a couple cards, or get a move on any space, or get to take any card.
I will say with that though, I could see, because even you and I playing that, it was a runaway, right? Like you completely demolished me on that one. And I've played that game before, right? So I could see somebody getting new into that not feeling good for them. Where a game as in summer camp, we were neck and neck the whole time, just because there wasn't those draw this extra card, draw this, draw that. So yeah, I do think that's a good one.
I got that our playthrough was much more of an anomaly. Almost every time I've ever played that, a person could win the turn, like when it got to their turn. It's always very close. That one, we just happened to randomly place tiles that let me discard 6 cards, trash 6 cards, right? Normally you're not going to be able to. I like culling my deck, and that game doesn't like let you do that easily.
That often. But yeah, no, it's a great deck builder. There are definitely better and worse combos of cards. Yes,
yeah, no, that is absolutely true.
For sure.
I really want to, for a game I absolutely love, I want to get the expansion to this. It's played, actually, I think it's a standalone expansion. They call it an expansion. But it's played in El Dorado. So the idea is
You've
have
made it
to El Dorado, and now you're in El Dorado, and it has. If you've ever played like the difference between Clank versus Clank in Space, right? So where Clank is pretty straightforward, and you go down, you get an artifact to come up. It's kind of that same thing. And then Clank in Space, you have to actually collect a couple, whatever they are, things to unlock the elevators to then move. Does sort of the same thing. There's like a tree path, and you have to like touch on each of these altars to continue on. So
interesting.
Anyway,
might have to look into that.
Yeah, we'll have to try that sometime. But this was Quest for El Dorado.
Ruffians. So every time I say ruffians, all I think of is Rapunzel, just because watch that movie all the time, and there's a song with ruffians and thugs and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, if you have little kids.
Are they also dogs?
They're not dogs. They're just ruffians. I think ruffians is just a term for rough people.
Ruffians.
But this is ruffians for the dogs.
Dog pirates. Criminal dogs.
Pirates, yes.
Yeah, the thug dogs. This was... I don't even know what type of game this was.
I don't contract set. No, not set. So you're gathering resources and you're filling the contracts. You're paying those resources to. Well, not even paying those resources because you're attacking them with your puppy pirates.
You're trying to build out a ship. Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
You have a ship and you're trying to build them out with these puppy pirates to then go on raids. That's what it was. Based off of how strong
your combat and your navigation
ship of puppies were. They have some special abilities. I don't know. I didn't think it was a great game, so it's really hard for me to describe. I actually thought it was a pretty terrible game. But that was, I don't know.
Yeah, Ruffians. This is, again, I would put it in that same realm of a summer camp, where it's a game that you are just kind of. It's an intro into kind of this style of game with quests and this and that. You're rolling dice, you're gathering these resources, you're filling up your pirate ship. Each of those pirates has different actions that you can do. And then you're just trying to race to the top of the bounty track, right? So I thought it was fine. I thought it was an okay game. I think it would play better at higher player counts than it did at 2. It is a game that we recorded a playthrough for. It's coming to Kickstarter later this month. I don't think it's a game necessarily for us, but I do think that it is a game that would fit into some other people's collections. Again, I think it's in that same kind of vein of the summer camp kind of games, where it's just an intro, very basic, easy to learn, easy to play kind of game.
Yeah, so. Yeah, that was it. I didn't enjoy it, but yeah. I'm not going to enjoy them all.
Tempest Imperium.
It's a little rolling
right. I think this is not even a rolling right.
Printable rolling. Oh, this is the one off Time,
This is the one off Time, yes. So Tempest Imperium is a blank and right. We did our list last month for this, and the lead up to that, I start playing a lot of these kind of games to kind of remind me what it is. So I was playing a lot of roll and writes, and so this is one of the ones that I played. And this one actually deals with time. So you have a graph, and on the top row, there's a bunch of different boxes, and then on the side column, there's boxes. And what you do is you actually put the time and date. So if you start the game right now at 9:47, you would put in 09:57, 05, what's the date? 03/2024, whatever, right? So you'd put the entire time and date, and then you do the same on the column. Well, each number represents a different action that you can do. So let's say numbers 0 through 1 let you build some type of road. 2 to 3 lets you do a lake. 3 to 4 is building. 5 to 6 is collecting something else. I don't remember off the top of my head, but each number has a different action associated with it. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to gather these resources and then build different types of buildings like forts or castles. And then you have enemies that you're trying to defeat. So you need to build this fort next to this enemy in order to defeat it, because at the end of the round, if there's an enemy next to a building, they're going to be taking your money away. So it's a really interesting strategy to play, because depending on what month you're playing it or what time frame if you're playing it at 7 p.m. at night every night, you're going to play it a specific way to where you're very you have a lot of wood resources, or you might have a lot of waters in this kind of area. So really dependent on the day, the time, whatever it is, it's going to change your game completely. I really enjoy it just because it is a challenging puzzle to try to figure out what to do. Again, the downfall is I played it in April. I don't want to play it again in April because it's going to be a very similar game, right? I know that it's kind of a strange mechanic with time, but it ends up working pretty well. It's a really well-made game.
Yeah, I've tried it out. I thought it was pretty cool. Kind of same with Paul. It's every time you play is going to be unique.
Very different. Yeah, you can't compare them at all.
Yeah, the next 8,000 years. So just a cool thing that they did for sure. Thunder Road Vendetta.
Yes, Thunder Road Vendetta. This is one that I've been looking forward to for a very long time.
Sweet, sweet table presence.
Sweet table presence. Mad Max inspired racing game. Dice worker placement. Dice as worker placement. It absolutely flopped for me. I was so disappointed with it. And it's because of the player elimination. I did not enjoy the player elimination. So what you do is you have your dice, you roll them, you have 3 different cars in front of you, and you place these dice on those cars, and it lets you move somehow along this path. If you land in front of other people's cars, they can shoot you. You have helicopters that you can place on there that if you're underneath it, it will destroy you. You can go off of the map by hitting like oil slicks. Like there's just a lot of chance. And once all 3 of your cars are out, you're out. And I was the first person out. The game lasted maybe 10, 15 minutes after I was out. But that right there was enough for me to just not enjoy it, right? I don't like just being out of a game and watching everybody play it. So it was cool, it was fun. It's a game that I will not play again. So really unfortunate, because we like racing games at BGG cons that we're going to. But this is going to be the one that I want to introduce y'all to.
There's plenty of other racing games, right?
Yep. So we will not do that one. Awesome table presence, everything about it sweet. Just don't like sitting there 15 minutes watching people play games.
Wandering Towers.
Wandering Towers. Let's see. I have a 6-player game night planned after we watch Mad Max Furiosa. Well, try it out. I mean, if you guys are okay with some player elimination,
and maybe you're into the theme, and everybody's just laughing as they're wrecking out cars.
And so that I'll go back into that. That's not what I expected from that game, right? So I know expectations are a lot of what a game is, right? I was expecting this race game for this and that, and we were all going to be close at the end. But then realizing, the only way to end this game is for somebody to get knocked out, because that's when the finish line shows up. Yeah, that's not cool. That's not what I want. So if you're going into it knowing that, like, you have this Mad Max thing, definitely check it out. All right, Wandering Towers. This is an interesting game. It's a memory game. Mancala style? Would you say that? Like picking up?
No.
Dropping them off somewhere?
Not Mancala style. No. Not at all. Because you're playing cards that dictate the movement.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. You're not dropping them off.
Yeah, it's not Mancala.
Anyway, you have these castles in this circle.
Towers.
I'm sorry. Wandering Towers. And you have 2 cards in your hand, or 3 cards in your hand, but you're going to play 2 of them. One action that you can do is move your witch or wizard, whatever it is.
Move a
witch or wizard, and then drop them into a new tower, or drop them into the Wizard's Keep, I think is what it's called. Raven's Keep, yeah. So you want to get all of your wizards into that Raven's Keep. You want to fill all of your potions, and then you win the game if you're the first person to do that. You can move the wizards, you can move the towers, You can trap wizards underneath the towers, and that's where it becomes a memory game. You have to remember where your wizards are. So when you're moving a tower, you might think, oh, my wizard's there. You move it. It's like, oh no, I just left Devin and Joe's out there. Now they can move them. And so it's a silly game. It's not really a party game, but it's one that you'd want to play with more people just because it's a lot more fun. But it does have that memory aspect, and it's one that you just have to go into just to have a good time, not really strategize about.
Yeah, who'd you play with?
So I played with Casey. I think it was with Casey. It was at D20. It was on a game night. I think it was like 3 or 4 people that we played with, so it was good. I liked it.
Okay, Wandering Towers. Warp's Edge.
Warp's Edge, another solo game. I'd stream this one. Bag Builder. You have a ship, and so the ship has special abilities. There's a bunch of different ships that you can play with. There's a bunch of different chits. So you have your energy chit, lasers, and then maneuver ones. So basically what you're going to be trying to do is there's some type of enemy fleet, and you're going to be trying to destroy them with the lasers or trying to outmaneuver them with those evasion tokens. Anytime you do that, you gain more chips into your bag. You also have those energy tokens that you can buy chips and add them into your bag. There's different amounts of rounds that you'll go through. So with the one that I live streamed was 4 rounds or warps. Anytime that you cannot pull any more chips out of the bag, that ends your round, and then you kind of start back over from the beginning with those enemy decks. There's a bunch of different motherships, and those are the main bosses that you need to defeat in order to play, in order to beat the game. So the one that I played was you can't actually attack it until you go through the entire enemy fleet, which is 12 cards. There's other ones that once you defeat this side, you have to flip it over and then defeat it again. So there's just a bunch of variability in that game. I really like a good bag builder. The fact that it's solo is awesome. Not many solo bag builders that I can think of, actually none other than this one. But yeah, it's one that I really enjoy, and the variability is there to make it that much more replayable.
Yeah, I watched your thing. I thought it looked neat.
Yeah, actually, I meant to bring that to you for you to try out. I think you'd really like it.
I think it's one that I would play once. I don't care about the variability. I'd play once, think it's cool. Yeah. Probably not ever play again, right? Like, it didn't seem like something that I would be like, oh, I want to try a different ship, or I want to try a different...
Interesting.
It's one that I would... Variability is not like a key component for me.
I know you enjoyed bag builders, deck builders.
Yeah, but when watching you, I'm like, oh, I would like to play that once, try it out, but I don't think it's one that I'd be like, oh, let me try different abilities or whatnot. So anyway, I did want to try it at some point. Yeah. And that was our list.
That's the end of our list. That was a long one.
That was.
That was a very long one. I think 20-something.
Yeah, 28. I think we said 28, but I think it actually was 26 because we're liars. Dirty liars.
That's true. Could have been. You never know. We're just putting that on there to get more people to come in.
Yeah, it's cooler when it's 28, not 26. Nobody'd join if it was 26.
That's right.
So, that was it. That was our game. So
yeah, we appreciate you guys being here. Pablo, Michael, Alex, thank you guys for being active in the chat.
Yeah, we definitely always appreciate it. This is always a fun thing to do, and our May is looking pretty promising because we have BGG Spring, and that's
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
If I had to guess, we'll probably get 15 games in.
Minimum, I would say.
I think so. 20 maybe. Yeah. That's a lot. 20.
I'll get you to play chicken.
I will not play. I'm gonna go in with playing no push your luck. That'll be.
Yeah, that sounds right. No push your luck.
But yeah, that was it. So we're looking at.
Yeah, we've already got. Let's see. I've already got 1, 2, 3 games in this month, and we're on the 3rd. So I'm good so far.
I got 1.
I
got 1, and I got our BGG stuff. So
we're at 1.5, we'll say.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm at 2.5.
2.5. Yeah. What do we have coming up? We have a Dice Throne coming up.
We have a Dice Throne coming up. It's Marvel. Who was it? Black Panther versus... I don't remember off the top of my head.
Spider-Man.
That sounds right, actually. Spider-Man is there, yeah. So yeah, we've got that coming up. We've got Ruffians, the playthrough, coming up.
Yeah, check it out. Maybe it's a game for you,
might be a game
whether
for you.
it was for us or not. You know, you can check that out.
We
got a list coming up.
List
next week. So
want to say what it is?
Yeah.
We got a little spoiler alert. Thank you guys for watching. We've got our top solo games coming up.
Yeah.
Top solo games. I think it's gonna be a good list.
I think so. Yeah. I like my list. I know.
Yeah, I like my list.
Yeah, I know they're good.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna see whose list you guys like better, mine or Devin's. What else? We've got a couple other playthroughs coming through. There are 2 times this month.
Yeah, that we probably won't
this month,
get to
once
stream.
in June. Yes, first weekend of June, or maybe it's the 30th of May. I don't remember. But yeah, we got BGG coming up. I'm not able to go to the first night of BGG, so I will do a stream the Thursday night beforehand.
Look at that, bonus stream.
That's right. So on the 23rd, I will be doing a stream. And then the 24th, we'll be at BGG.
What are you going to stream? Thought about it?
Not 100% sure. Not 100% sure.
Gaia project?
I don't know if I want it to be a 2-hour stream.
Okay.
Maybe I could do. I don't know.
I think that'd be like a 3-hour, but
yeah. I
no Gaia project.
Okay. I played Gaia project once, and I didn't learn it. I learned it on the fly, so I actually did pretty good on it. So, yeah, we'll figure it out. I'll put a little poll up or something, and we'll go from there.
So, all right, that is all we've got. Of course, we are the Dads and Dice. We appreciate you guys joining in. See you next time.
See y'all next time.